Hey everyone, it's been a bit too long since I've checked in with you all. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are ready for this home stretch of our course. We have less than a month left um, and a few different things coming up for this month. So up until now, our coursework has followed generally the same patterns. Things are going to be just a little bit different for the next couple of weeks. Of course, by this Sunday, April 7th, the discussion posts are due. So please look at those if you haven't. Those are things that are outside of the typical work in the learning modules. Also remember that I do drop your lowest assignments, so that may mean that you don't need to complete the timeline or the journal for Unit 6, and that could possibly, if you're in that position that you haven't missed one already, could possibly free up some time for you to dedicate more focus on those discussion assignments. The discussions do require you to focus on Chastain a bit less than the Wood Problems book. So the book edited by Wood that we've been reading all semester, but you just pick a couple of the discussion prompts that most appeal to you, which topics most appeal to you, and read those prompts and use the sources that it outlines there. Again, mostly they'll be in the Wood Reader, and write a response. You'll also respond to each other. So if you have any questions about what that entails or what you'll need to do, please don't hesitate to ask. Happy to help. Unit 7 will focus entirely on Rigoberta Menchú. So I know that many of you have already started reading her memoir and looked at the assignment for that. We're not doing a book review because we're not really, her work isn't a secondary work, I guess is what I mean to say. So usually book reviews are for secondary historical sources that were written by historians about certain events, in which the reviewer gives a critical perspective on the book, on what its thesis was, on the sources and methodologies it used, and how well the author achieved those things. Sorry, I got distracted by an email coming in. I'll get over it. Instead, what we're doing is focusing on a particular question. So please read the Menchú assignment instructions. It gives some context for the book and how it was created. It also gives some supplemental sources and points you toward Chapter 12 in the Wood Reader in Problems in Modern Latin American History. So you'll take all those things into account in terms of context as you read her work and think about the way it was constructed and what it means to us in terms of being a historical source about the violence in Guatemala. It's not an easy book to read in terms of the reading level and being able to become engaged with the book. I think it's not hard at all, but the subject matter is difficult. We learn many beautiful things about Mayan culture and life, but we also see the very dark and violent side of Guatemalan life. We see how Ladinos treat Mayan people. We see the hardships that Menchú's family faced as she grew up and as she started to fight for one side of that situation. So fighting against the right-wing government. As we know, that government in Guatemala, people like Efraín Ríos Montt, were supported by the United States. And so that's another kind of difficult thing to deal with in certain respects. We'll be doing specific discussion assignments. You'll have reading tweets and specific discussion assignments for Unit 7. That will help you think about the book, help us discuss it a little bit before you write your paper. That paper on Rigoberta Menchú is the big assignment for this class. There's no final exam, but that will be completed by the last day of class, which is Friday, April 26th. Also, there is a final project, but you'll find, I think, that the final project's a bit less work than the Menchú assignment. So the final project asks you to just create your own Tiki-Taki timeline and just copy and paste all of your posts to the class timeline over to your own personal timeline, and then to answer a set of questions about just that cause you to reflect on the kinds of posts that you made, the kinds of topics you chose, and so on. So again, that's a more kind of self-reflection kind of thing rather than the analytical assignment that is the Minshew assignment. I hope that all makes sense. I hope it's helpful, and I hope that you'll ask questions whenever you have them.